Exciting times for the game is coming. We now have the information on how Charles Xavier will come to the game. So we have an advanced copy of the blog post. Let's go ahead and look, see what we can understand, see what we can expect, and see what kind of hype this character is going to be bringing to Marvel Strike Force. So here's our advanced copy of the blog, and it's entitled Finding Xavier. It's talking about the Professor Xavier saga. So we've seen the pictures of him before. Let's go ahead and get into the information. Now it says the Professor Xavier saga, the epic conclusion of the Age of X saga is nearly here. And it comes with a chance to recruit the leader of the X-Men, Professor Xavier. And today we're breaking down everything you need to know about the Professor Xavier saga and how to battle your way to victory. It won't be an easy road, but a powerful new ally awaits those who rise to the challenge. 4 bosses stand in your way. To earn Professor Xavier, you'll need to defeat 4 bosses: Nimrod, Gladiator, Shadow King, and Dark Xavier. That in itself is an interesting concept, very different from what we've seen in the past concerning special unlocks like this. So we see it's not exactly the same as a standard Dark Dimension character. It's something definitely different. And here is the graphic that we see when it comes to those bosses. We've seen this before, right? We've seen this in Battle World. In fact, it starts out each chapter of the saga features a series of missions that culminate in a showdown against a different powerful boss enemy. And just like in Battle World, you'll see a display of the boss's health and ability energy as it progresses along the top of the screen for easy viewing. So it looks like what's happening is they're taking some of the best of the things that we've seen throughout the years. So people want really good player versus environment content. Looks like they're giving it to us here. We had the bosses from Battle World, and some people said, hey, how come all bosses can't look like this? Well, it looks like they're taking that and bringing that along with us for the Xavier saga. So again, they're listening to feedback, and it looks like they're trying to make something epic. Let's go ahead and continue. Warning, these bosses are not like the characters that you possess on your roster. Though they may look familiar, the bosses of this saga have a few surprises up their sleeves that will slant the battlefield in their direction. You'll need to be a minimum of gear tier 17 to access Nimrod's first mission. Below a full rundown of the requirements, each boss and their missions feature 3 difficulty levels. There's a hard, heroic, and extreme. Each difficulty comes with multiple missions, and you'll need to earn 3 stars on every mission across all 4 bosses in order to unlock Professor Xavier. Okay. What can we extrapolate? What is this telling us right now? So we're going to have these boss characters. It says that they have surprises up their sleeves that will slant the battlefield in their direction. So the assumption is these different bosses will have their own abilities, and perhaps they'll have some type of battlefield effect that will make their experience more challenging, more difficult. We need to be a minimum of gear tier 17 to start. So most of us at the end game will be able to start, right? That difficulty level, or excuse me, that gear tier is something that many of us in the end game possess. So we'll be able to start as soon as the event goes live. At least that's what I'm getting from this information here. But there will be 3 different difficulties: hard, heroic, and extreme, and we need 3 stars on every mission across all the bosses to get Professor Xavier. So if we go back to what we know about the Apocalypse saga, there were different nodes, and to get everything right, to get the character unlocked, to get their abilities, to get the gear tier, you needed to finish those different nodes at 3. So just like this is an assumption on my part, I don't know, I'm assuming if it's like that, that means your entire team needs to survive the encounter. right? So you get to the end and you beat them with your last person, you're only going to get 1 star is what I'm assuming, which would only unlock, if it's like Apocalypse, I mean, we don't know, it would only either unlock the next node, or maybe you would only get one thing like an ability or a gear tier or something like that, but you wouldn't get all the rewards associated with that, meaning you wouldn't really get the full unlock. We'll have to see how that manifests, but that's what I'm looking at. That's why that's the way I understand it. You're going to need 3 stars, meaning that our team is going to have to be somewhat robust. We're going to have to understand how to actually play with the team, right? Just not brute forcing our way through is not going to make it. So that's why it's encouraging us here to prepare our roster. So the Professor Xavier Saga is a massive multi-phase event featuring over 50 missions that'll put your roster to the test. Mission nodes will have specific trait restrictions, so you'll need to strategize your squad composition. Each node also has a minimum gear tier requirement, with early missions starting at gear tier 17 and 18. You'll have the freedom to choose your teams within these restrictions, so theory craft your way to victory with your preferred characters. Early missions will also reward valuable resources to help power up your roster for the later, more difficult battles. All right, again, what did we learn from these statements? We have over 50 missions. So we think about Dark Dimensions in general. I was just kind of looking around at some of the older ones. I don't know if we had many that were over 20. I don't know if we had any that were over 20. I didn't look at all of them. A lot of them fell into the teens, but we'll just assume that 20 was the most. So now we have 50 missions. That's quite lengthy. That's quite lengthy. So in my mind, that means this is going to go a little bit longer, a lot longer than some of the information that we've had in the past, right? So usually within a couple of weeks, individuals are able to finish Dark Dimensions and have the new character on the field. Maybe that will still be the case, but I guarantee you the reflex time between the whales, the highest spenders, and the free-to-play is going to be a lot bigger. It's going to be a lot bigger. So effort is going to pay off. Individuals that put forth that effort are going to have this character much earlier than those of us who are playing at a little bit of a slower pace. So just something to keep in mind. It's just the nature of the beast. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. There will be trait restrictions, so we need to be mindful of the characters that we're using. And it said that it will reward resources to help power up your roster for later, more difficult battles. Now, I'm not 100% sure what that means, but something that has gone under the radar a lot is when we're playing, for example, the month-long events and some of the other events that pop up in between, right? A lot of times the difference between some of those spendy events or just completing the month-long event in general, we don't always appreciate the fact that some of those items, some of the gear, some of the resources that are there go into the next team or your current team that you're working on right now, right? A lot of times we bypass that. We're just, hit claim and don't really appreciate what's going on. But those rewards are intended to keep your roster going. So when you get your next character, when you get your next team, the person comes out and you just upgrade them, right? You just bring them up to gear tier 19 or whatever. That's because of the events and the things that were already rewarded. We already have those things available. They're made for that next team. So I'm assuming that something like that is going to be worked into what's going on here. Again, those individuals that are spenders, that are super hardcore players, it's just going to probably give them more characters. Once they get to that phase, they're just going to have more characters to use than those of us who are playing a little bit more cheap to play. Now, here's a full overview of each boss and their requirements. So we're looking at the graphic here. And what do we got? We got a lot. There's a lot happening here. So it's starting out at Nimrod. Hard, heroic, and extreme is a progression that we're going to see looks like through the whole thing. There'll be 4 missions, then 5 missions. That looks like that repeats throughout the whole thing. Gear tier requirements starting at gear tier 17 for Nimrod, going up to 18 and then to 19. That's normal. So most of us to start out, right? So as it starts, it looks like everybody who's in the end game for the most part, because gear tier 17 isn't ridiculous at all. So anyone who's in the end game for the most part is jumping in. It says the traits are indie, so it's wide open. So it's your entire roster. So when the event starts, everybody's starting off ready, set, go for the most part together, which I don't think is a bad thing. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And you're just going to start to get a taste and a flavor for how the game mode works. We'll be able to progress together. We already have characters at gear tier 17, 18, 19. Then we'll have to fight Nimrod, or maybe we fight him at each of those instances. I'm not sure. We must, right? Fight him at each of those instances, maybe. I don't know. That's an interesting question, I guess. So our whole roster, let's just assume that we have to fight him at each of those instances. Everybody's starting off together, and then when we get to gear tier 19, we have gear tier 19 characters. All of us, not all of us, but many of us at the end game do. So it'll be interesting again. We'll go through that portion, and then the next boss is where the separation starts. Gear tier 19, city section. Again, many of us have characters that'll fall into that bracket. Gear tier 20, that's going to be a hard stop, right? That's new. That's new progression. Nobody at this point has gear tier 20. So that'll be a hard stop. I don't know if you can go into each of those areas. So as we see Shadow King and a Dark Xavier, gear tier 19, and there's general requirements for that: city, global, cosmic. So again, I don't know how it'll work if you're able to just go after each of those. So we think about Apocalypse. When he came out, you could kind of go after each one, right? If you had the requirements, you go after each of the 4 horsemen and the nodes individually. So maybe it'll be something like that. We can all start to make progress, but your progress will be impeded once you get to the harder difficulties, because we'll need gear tier number 20. And please take note at the end there for Dark Xavier, you need Lilandra specifically. She's the only character that has a specific call out. Lilandra and Hero Cosmic. So maybe the Starjammers as a whole, but there's other cosmic characters that are much stronger, I assume, right? You think of Odin and whatnot. Null will be in the game at that point, right? He's coming back soon, so Null should be in the game at that point. I think he's here. Well, he's not Hero Cosmic, but he is Cosmic. It'll be interesting, man. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. Okay. Gear tier 20, Professor Xavier unlocked. Professor Xavier arrives as a full 7-star unlock. To complete the saga and recruit him, you'll need characters equipped with the upcoming Gear tier 20, which arrives on March 17th, 2 o'clock Pacific time. Upgrading the Gear tier 20 will use Gear tier 20 mini uniques, which you can earn through upcoming event. Spend X coins in the limited time X coin shop on Gear tier 20 mini uniques of your choice and earn X coins through events. The road to Professor Xavier is a true test of your roster strength and strategy, but for those who prove worthy, one of the most powerful minds in the Marvel Universe will be yours to command. Prepare now. Okay, so the guy's gonna lock fully loaded. Xavier comes into the game, bam, 7 stars. So it's all or nothing. There's no baby version, right? There's no baby version. There's no shards. It's all or nothing. We're going to need Gear tier 20. There'll be many uniques to help do that. So that is, I'm assuming that means the Gear tier pieces that we generally have will still function, with the exception of the unique piece, the mini unique piece. That's going to be part of the new progression system, meaning it's going to be scarce and it's going to be expensive. So as free to play players, we're just going to have to be patient. You're going to have to strategize, pick your battles, right? There will be people in the community who will be upset because they want everything now and they don't understand that you have to work for things. But this is how it's going to go. I'm really curious to see how long it's going to take for the unlock. I just recently got Odin like a couple weeks ago, and I know there's people that still don't have them. So is this going, how long do you think this is going to take? Is this a 6-month chase? Is this a year? Is this a year-long chase? Will the free-to-play of us, will we be getting our Xavier when we see Annihilus show up in the game? What do you think? How long? I would like to hear from you. I'm a free-to-play player. I'm a hardcore free-to-play player, but you know, I got real life like everybody else. I'm curious. How long is this going to take? It is what it is. It is what it is. But this should be a culmination of what we asked for. There's some theory crafting. We'll see what happens. Start powering up the traits detailed above to make sure you're ready for each boss. This saga begins on April 14th. All right, the clock is ticking. Now we know we have a starting gate. April 14th. So start your preparations. It's time to unlock Professor X. Information there is subject to change. Okay. So we have all the information. What are your thoughts on the matter? Again, I'm curious to hear your comments. We know that we need gear tier 20. It starts at gear tier 17 on the Nimrod side. We'll all start on the 14th instead of April. Ready, set, go will be the start. Everybody will move forward. You'll get a taste of what it's like, and then we'll have to build from there. I'm not the super strategist. I'm definitely not the super strategist, so we'll wait to see what the strategists have to say. But yeah, I mean, some of those traits. You got the Annihilators for Cosmic, Odin. What about City? Right, Spider Society right now is the team. There's rumors about other teams, but I mean, what's going to get you through faster, right? What's going to get you through faster? There might be some more ideal builds, but here it is, man. This is what we've been looking forward to. It's coming. We have a date. We have a strategy. We have a method. We know what we got to do. So I'm curious to hear from you. Are you excited about Xavier? Are you excited about the changes to the system? I know we haven't seen it yet, but these bosses, are you interested in that? Do you think we'll have to fight the bosses at every level, right? At every difficulty level, or will just be one big boss when you finish, when you get all the way through? What are your thoughts on the matter? What are you going to do? What are you looking forward to? I want to hear from you as a community. 100%, man. 100%. Let me know what you think. Check out the next video if you haven't seen it already. Peace.